Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of Fringe Coverage. This podcast profiles the stories, swings, and stars of the LPGA Tour. Whether you're new to women's golf or a longtime fan, hopefully this helps you develop your own rooting interest in women's professional golf. Once again, joined by my buddy Tom. Tom, happy Monday, coming off a fun weekend of golf. What's going on in your world?
Hey, Marc, how you doing? My world is my weekdays are way less busy than my weekends. So like I look forward to weekdays because I get to, have a nice routine. I get to go back to work. I had eight games this weekend for my kids, so like
Holy
this is
cow.
this is light work for me now. I love it.
And
Back
for
back
the
on my
audience
grind.
sake, he does not have 8 children. He has two.
Two kids,
Two kids, eight
three
games.
baseball, two softball, three soccer.
Man. And how did the little ones do?
0 for 3 in baseball, 1-0-1 in soccer, and 2-0 in softball. So I'll take that as a
Okay.
win.
Okay. I'm glad we can provide a respite for you and have Fringe Coverage be your outlet for in more than ways than one, huh?
Yeah.
Well, we've got
How are
a
you, Marc? I
pretty
don't ask you, how are you doing?
Yeah, I'm great, man. Got a haircut, feeling
Marc,
high
looking
and
high and
tight.
tight. You do your own hair? You cut your own hair?
I did for about 20 years or so, and then finally got lazy and decided I really don't think I'm very good at it. I was just lazy and cheap, and finally I just went down the street and my guy Dave takes care of me.
Looking good. Yeah.
Shout out Dave. But yeah, things are good. Saw some friends this weekend. Watched a lot of golf. Wish I watched more golf. If you can sense my frustration, stay tuned for why I'm frustrated. But
Should we just
yeah,
get that
man.
out of the way now?
No. I mean, yeah, I guess, but it's not the best segue to start the Lotte Championship recap. But we did have a tournament last week after, some weeks off and a rain out. It's nice to just have golf again and some pretty amazing story that came out of this. Let's start with the headline. Youmin Hwang from South Korea wins by one over Hyoju Kim. And the reason this matters is Yumin is 22 years old, is a non-member of the LPGA, and this was her sixth career LPGA start. She makes her living on the KLPGA, the Korean LPGA. So for those of you listeners, there's the LPGA in the States, there's the KLPGA, there's the JLPGA in Japan. So there is a lot of different ways to make your way onto the tour or gain access to some of the LPGA Tour events. So Yumin played really well the first 3 days, including round two. She shot the course record. She shot a 62 in round two, which was not only the course record, it was her best round ever, too. So that's always a good sign when you're shooting your
Good
own
time
best
to
round.
do that.
Yeah. Yeah. Again, only her sixth career LPGA start. But so she wins the tournament. First off, Tom, the streak continues.
Yeah.
Dare I
Let's-
ask how many that is now?
yeah, that is, where
25,
are we at now? We're at
26?
26.
Sheesh. 26 straight non-repeat winners this year on the LPGA. Yumin has made cuts in three majors this year, so she's really making solid work of her few appearances on big scale events. When you're young, just to make a cut is a huge deal in any tournament, much less three majors. So, not familiar with your game, Yumin, and now you have our attention. So, congrats on really running this down. And she did it in the way, Tom, you and I want to watch a tournament end. She birdied five of her last six and the last four to just take it. Huge week for her. First career victory. Here's the crazy thing. She got in on a sponsor invite. She did not qualify for this tournament. Every sponsor of every tournament, in this case, the Lotte, is given a handful of sponsor invitations that they are allowed to extend. And usually these take the form of these are ambassadors for their company. So in this case, Lotte says, hey, do we have any golfers on the LPGA or KLPGA that we want to give a shot that otherwise didn't qualify for this tournament through regular means? And Yumin was on their short list because Yumin is a Lotte athlete. So she was already on their short list. So Yumin had no business in terms of what she had done to date from a on the course perspective to be in this tournament. Lotte extended the invite. And that is called taking advantage of your opportunity. She
No
comes in,
kidding.
not only makes the cut, she straight up wins this thing. And now, because she wins, she is given the option of immediately taking up full time LPGA membership or deferring it to next season. And it came out either today or yesterday that she's going to defer it and she will start her LPGA career full membership starting in 2026,
So
meaning
what's the benefit of that?
probably a full season first off. So if you're looking at how many starts you're going to get, how many points you earn, you look at CME, things like that. If you come in at the end of the year, I think you burn your rookie status as well if you come in this time. So remember, there's only a few events left in this season. So I'm not sure it's that advantageous for someone to pick up LPGA status. I'm sure there's some wraparound benefits if you got it now, but so Yumin will instead of having to go to Q Series, which she was planning to do Q School here in the next month or so and earn it, try to get her way on the LPGA like everybody else, she just gets a free pass straight to the big leagues because she won this week. So pretty awesome week for her.
And then she can get the Louise Suggs Award next year.
Right. That's exactly right.
See, I learned stuff.
Look
Paying
at you.
attention.
Although I did not look up over the weekend whether Lottie burns her rookie status this year or not, because if she doesn't, Human's going to have some tough competition next year. But
Yeah,
I
no
think
kidding.
Lottie gets rookie status
Shout out
this year.
Rachel. Question for you. So, how would you feel if a sponsor person, a sponsor player came in and took the championship? There's different ways to think about this. Well, that person didn't necessarily earn it.
Yeah, you asked that. Interesting. So I don't think this is a very contentious topic, both on the PGA and LPGA,
Oh,
is how
what I asked.
sponsor invitations are managed. Should they even be a thing? Because there are people busting their humps to try to get access to individual tournaments. And there is this side door that some people are allowed to use. And I think on it, objectively speaking, if you're listening to this saying, hey, it's the first time I've ever heard of sponsor invitations, I would think the knee jerk reaction is this doesn't feel right from a competition perspective. This feels weird that, again, you could just be handed an invitation because you do work on the side for that sponsor. I think, Tom, where the actual consternation among tour players comes in is they're taking up a spot for a chance. No one is looking at that person very often as someone who's going to win the tournament. Again, shout out to Human for really taking advantage of it. But this is how people's careers get started is you get a sponsor invite, you make a cut, maybe you make enough, you get top 10 and it gives you access to the next week's tournament and you turn into a week by week player on the LPGA playing for much larger purses. You string together a couple good weeks and all of a sudden you're off to the races and setting yourself up really well. Again, I'm setting aside what Human did this past week. That's absurd to take a sponsor invite and win. But if you're look, these are 144 person fields. If you're number 145, right now you're thinking, how the heck does she get on there? I've been busting my hump. I'm ranked way ahead of her. And yet, because she knows this sponsor, that's how she gets in. Now, I say all that is what one side of the coin is. I do not fall on that side of the coin. I am very pro sponsor invitation for a very clear, simple reason. As much exposure as this sport can get, the better. And specifically, it's going to need investment from sponsors. And if someone's going to come pay to play and say, hey, we'll sponsor a tournament for probably 6 or 7 figures, depending on what these purses are, I'm willing to concede that while a sponsor invitation is not the best competitively speaking, if that's what's going to keep someone at the table to invest in this sport and allow these women to play for 2, 3, 4, 5, hopefully growing $1 million purses, I am okay saying, you know what, you can get 3 or 4 brand ambassadors. If you want to look at the PGA Tour, the kings of sponsor exemptions right now are Ricky Fowler and Jordan Spieth. So again, not unrecognizable names, people that do big things that if they're having an off year, that for the sponsor, and we'll explain why sponsors get these invitations. 2 reasons. One, they want to help boost someone's career. More importantly, they have an opportunity to have that. They say, hey, we're going to give you an invite to our tournament, but there are conditions. One, you got to come to our sponsor meet and greet thing, happy hour the Tuesday before the tournament where you shake hands, kiss babies, say how great Lotte is, how excited you are to be a partner, and do some glad handing during the week. And that matters a lot to these companies because most companies that are sponsoring a golf tournament really appreciate the hospitality side of the benefits that they get. Again, the tents on the 18th green, the tournament passes, all of those things. So you need to bring people in that are going to press the flesh and make people feel special. And who better to do it than the athletes on the course? So that's how Human got in. That's how all sponsor invitations work. And until there is a better way to check both those boxes, I'm fine with sponsor invitations.
Right. Usually when I hear about sponsor exemptions, it's for the big names like you mentioned, like the Rickies and the Jordans. And if some retired athlete decided to come out and she just go like if Annika Sorenstam came out and said, I want to play in this tournament this week, of course they would allow her and she would
Yeah.
get a sponsorship exemption. I wonder if like this week's Buick in Shanghai,
Yeah.
I wonder if somebody looks at the schedule and goes, I should try to get sponsored by Buick. Like if I'm, round 150 or something and just go, well, that'd be a really good way for me to actually get on the tour. If you're thinking about it, if let's say Buick's coming after you and so is Toyota, and you go, well, at least this way I can guarantee myself a spot on the tour and a chance to get some prize money. That might be the better way to do it.
I mean, I love the logic behind that. The piece that's missing is you got to play good golf to get sponsored. You don't really get to go pick your sponsors. It's the other way around. So
I
Buick
mean, if they were
usually,
both coming after you, beating down your door to get on there.
yeah, if Buick and a non-tournament sponsor knocking on my door, sure, maybe there's some added benefits of, hey, I'll play for a little amount of money, but as long there, one thing I don't know, I'm curious if sponsor exemptions make their way into player contracts. I'm saying, hey, I'll be a sponsor, but there might be some conditions of in the event that I'm not eligible and I'm ranked a certain number, so I'm not just garbage and you're bringing me into the tournament, you're going to help me out. I have no idea how that works because if you're a player, you don't want sponsor exemptions because that means you're not playing well to have got in
Sure.
naturally. So I'm not sure the depth that goes. But yeah, I mean, I do think that there are plenty of examples on the LPGA and PGA of players losing form for a bit and finding it because of a sponsor exemption. So to every player that misses out on it, I feel for them. I would be really upset if I was number 145 or number 157, depending on the field. That would really bug me. I think what's a bigger deal is if you look at the year-end CME list, the people who make it to the top 60, if you're number 61 and let's say you finished third at the Lotte this week, which would have been a second if Youmin had not
hmm
won, and you would have got second place points, which would have vaulted you over number 60. Those are the dominoes that, again, you could kill yourself trying to pull at that thread too much. But there are some real world implications of all of this.
Of course, but at the end of the day, it comes down to how well you can play. So you can make
Exactly.
the excuses all you want, but yeah, I'm kind of in the same camp as you are on that.
So a couple notables here. Nelly Corda, my pick. Man, did I think we had it. I was cracking jokes that, hey, maybe everyone knows that Nelly's not been playing well final rounds on Sunday because this was a Wednesday through Saturday tournament. I thought maybe a Saturday final round might be what needs to change it up. Nelly shot 3 under, which is better than her tournament average this year in the final round. She was in contention deep into the back nine. I liked what I saw. She didn't close the deal. She did not go in with the lead, but she was one or two off the lead going into the final round. Good signs from her. She still made some bad mistakes. Her putter's just balky, man. If you saw how many birdie putts she had within 20 feet and how few she cashed in, we got to get that putter working. This feels back to Scotty a couple years ago when that was the one piece of kryptonite. But good sign of her for 4 rounds pieced together. Akie Iwai was right there in the lead on going into the final round. She faded early. She had a really rough front nine and tried to battle her way back in, but wasn't really in contention once we got to the 10th hole. And then this course, people were lighting it up. And Megan King was the only player in the top 30 to shoot over par in the final round. So everyone was going low. Megan was another person who had aspirations to go do some big things, but went backwards when everyone else was going deep again on Sunday. It got hard out there, physically hard on Saturday, the final round. Balls were trampolining off the green. I'll hit this briefly. I alluded to it. Coverage sucked,
I'm gonna
man.
put you on the clock on this one, Mark. You're getting 60
Yeah,
seconds.
look, they were on Golf Channel from 4 to 7 p.m. I don't even remember our time. Suffice to say, they didn't come on air until Nelly was on the back nine. What are we doing? We can't. This is embarrassing. What, the Sanderson Farms on the PGA Tour really needs to preempt this? Can we not find another partner, USA Network or somewhere else, to show more of this coverage? It was embarrassing. I'm not going to go deeper than that. It's just incredibly frustrating to have a broadcast of a final round of a big tournament, especially with beautiful scenery like in Hawaii, to not start until the back nine. So this group has heard me rant enough, but it was tough to only be able to watch what Nelly was doing on an app. I was live text ranting you, I think, as it was happening.
Yeah, I was at a baseball tournament getting this, trying to film a video for my wife while my son was at bat, and then just get all this barrage
Ding,
of text
ding,
messages
ding.
from Mark. Not now,
Hot.
Mark.
I was hot. We mentioned it, the picks. I win again. Nelly finished great. You had Miyu Yamashita. She finished T23. Again, if Miyu is a rookie and her bad week is T23, I
Yeah,
don't think
not
Miyu's
bad.
going anywhere. I think it's a solid pick.
So for this you get 10 points for Nelly finishing top five, and
All
you get
right.
one for head to head. You were running away with this 28-11 this season.
I mean, but you did call something out of once you pick someone, they're gone. So I can't pick Gino or Nelly or anyone going down the stretch. And we do have the CME. So I'm gonna have to start get creative with my picks. I think you still have some horses in the barn that
Oh
you can
yeah. Hey,
use
thanks
here.
for making me feel good.
I got you, buddy. Well, hey, let's get into the main event. We're just a couple weeks, not even removed from the Ryder Cup, which just gets me fired up for the Solheim Cup. And we're going to do a little preview today of what's the Solheim Cup, why does it matter, a bit of history, and a live look in at the standings right now for both Team Europe and Team USA. So let's start with the basics. The Solheim Cup is the women's version of the Ryder Cup. So this is a team competition of US versus Europe. This is held every other year, and it alternates venues between somewhere in the United States and somewhere in Europe. Each team consists of 12 players, and it's played over 3 days. Friday is a mix of two team competitions called four ball and foursomes. Four ball means Tom and I are a team. We each play our own ball all the way in, and whichever one of us has the best score is the one we count. Against the Europeans, do the same thing. We're going to pretend we're Team USA today as I do these matchups, Tom. And then foursomes is alternate shot. I hit the tee shot, Tom hits the approach, I hit the putt. Hopefully, Tom doesn't have a putt to hit because I sunk the putt. And you alternate which holes you tee off on. So the way this is structured, it's 28 total matches, 5 sessions, two foursomes matches, two sets of foursomes matches, two sets of four ball matches, and then singles. So just straight up woman versus woman on the final day of the Solheim Cup, and each of those matches is worth 1 point for winning, and you get a half point if you tie. So
Point of
that's the tournament
clarification.
format.
So for alt shot, let's say we're on a par three, you tee off, you're off because you can't tee well. You chip on, I miss a putt, you make the putt.
Does not impact who tees off on the next hole. It is preset odds and evens. So
Understood.
even if you teed off on a hole and I was the last putt, I will go hit the next shot, which in that case would be the tee shot on the next hole.
You read my mind. Okay, cool.
I kind of wish it wasn't because that could mess with some people's strategies. Like, hey, yeah, you can do that, but life happens and you could, if you miss the putt, it throws off your whole strategy. But it really makes it hard for the Ryder Cup and Solheim Cup captains to structure a team when you don't have at least some predictability of, hey, the odds seem to be all the long par fives, so we want Tom hitting because he's the big hitter. Like that's where the strategy comes in. So that's the format. Bit of history. So the next one is in 2026, and this will be the 20th playing of the Solheim Cup. The U.S. leads the series, and I'm going to say this two different ways. If you are European, you would say the U.S. leads the series 11-8, and United States would say they lead it 11-7-1. Difference being when the final score is 14-14 in the Solheim Cup, that is called retaining the cup, and they don't do any tiebreakers. They straight up go whoever won the previous year's Solheim Cup retains the cup as opposed to wins the cup. It's retains, and they are considered the winners of it. So it's kind of a weird thing. I'm going to ask you to be commissioner for the day and make some changes to this in a little bit, Tom. But most recently, just a couple years ago, Europe retained the cup in Spain when they were playing at Finca Courtesan. And it was kind of that weird kiss your sister tie thing. It was 14-14. Does that really count? And if you're on the retaining side of it, you say, yeah, it counts. If you're on the losing side of it, you say, no, that shouldn't count. So last time they played was in 2024. And that was in the States in Virginia. The U.S. won 15.5 to 12.5. And home team advantage matters a ton here because the home captain, in this case, the United States captain from last year or the European captain next year, they get to set the course however they want. So they're going to look at the statistics of their team and say, based on paper, Team Europe really thrives in we're way better off the tee than them, or we're way straighter, or we're really good at approach shots between 130 and 160, whatever it is that they find in their data. They can then manipulate the course because they're the home team to say, all right, let's set the tee boxes at a certain distance because the average drive is going to go 250 and we want 30 in. We're going to have a bunch of 390-yard par fours, or however it is they're going to structure it to try to maximize their strengths on paper. So they get to dictate that, and the visiting team has to deal with it.
And
The one thing
obviously,
they
all this
obviously
planning needs to be done well in advance before the teams are announced. You just have to kind of project who
right.
you think will be on the team and how you can affect your course based on what you think is going to be
You'd be
put out in
amazed,
front of
man.
you.
They can change a course 2 weeks prior. They don't have to do anything right now because, again, to your point, they don't know who's on the team right now, so statistics don't matter. But this time, let's say June of next year, when we're a couple months away from the Solheim Cup, they will know much better who the players are, what the stats show, and then say, all right, where are we going to place these tee boxes? Because in this case, Bernardus Golf, which is the course in the Netherlands where this is going next, they're going to have the ability to work directly with them, saying, hey, I want to make sure there's a tee box here. They do have that type of last minute flexibility. It's not something they have to do years in advance. Tom, I figure with that background, you mentioned it. We're still a ways off. The players that are currently in contention for a Solheim Cup spot are nowhere close to locks. But figured if we could do a preview of if the season ended today, let's talk about the captains, how the players are selected for each team, because it is different, and what it would look like if the Solheim Cup were this week, what those standings would look like. So you want to kick us off with Team USA?
All right, so for Team USA, we will be captained by Angela Stanford in 2026. The last two Solheim Cups were captained by Stacey Lewis. So the way they select the teams, we have the top seven on the LPGA points list. That's Angel Yin, Nelly Korda, Yelimi No, Andrea Lee, Jennifer Kupcho, Lauren Coughlin, and Megan Kang. And obviously that's of right now. Things can change a lot,
A
in a
lot.
year. The next two players will be the highest ranked Rolex players that didn't already qualify based on the LPGA points list. Again, right now, Lilia Vu and Austin Kim. And then the captain gets to choose the next three players. So this is kind of like what we talked about ahead of time or prior when it came to the sponsor exemptions, right? Like
Mm.
they get to choose whoever they want. This is not based on merit. This is who they think will be the best addition to their team. So if they decided that Rose Yang is worth rolling the dice on, or Lexi Thompson, for example, they have the history and they have the ability, and this isn't all about skill. This is also history based. So if somebody has the experience to play in a tournament like this and they see something in that player, then they might select them. Now, you might be able to answer this. I don't know. Is there some kind of interview process for these captains
Hmm.
picks? Like, do they bring them and like talk to them and see what their strategy would be or how they feel about playing in something like this? Or
Once we probably get into 2026, the captains are casting a wide net and probably speaking regularly with the, let's call it top 15 or 20 names of just saying, hey, got my eyes on you. Hope you play well. And you'll be in contention for a spot as we get closer to the actual event, because there's all sorts of fittings that happen because of all the clothes. They do that well in advance. I don't know if Ralph Lauren is their sponsor or someone else, but they do team fittings. So Tom, there's people that get fit for this that don't ever get the clothes for the Solheim Cup because they get fit in May or June. And so it's anyone that could possibly get the spot, especially knowing that, as you alluded to, there's captain's picks. So there's very open lines of communication between the captains and vice captains and the players saying, hey, you guys know how this works. There's the top nine are kind of spoken for in these different ways. So play your way in. And still, those three captains picks are still based on form. If you're not playing any type of good golf or just missing out on the Solheim Cup points list, you're probably not going to get picked. It's very rare that someone goes too far down the list of Solheim Cup point standings. Like, for example, there have been years where the next three highest rated players outside of those auto bids were selected and they just went straight chalk. There's other years where they go a little bit deeper because someone like Lexi is an attractive name because Lexi knows how to play in these things and has a deep history with the tournament. So there is not necessarily direct interviews that are happening, but there's just a lot more evaluation happening, I think is the right way to say it. If the captains are looking at, all right, I like Austin Kim for this team because she bombs the ball, but who would I pair her with? So that's how captains look to round out their three picks in this case is, here's my auto qualifiers. This is the family I've been dealt, right? I don't get to choose these nine. What am I going to do with these other three? First and foremost, they better be a course fit for where you're going. Is it a bomber's paradise type place? Is it a place you got to be really good with your short game? And then on top of that, all right, one of my auto qualifiers is a below average putter, but she bombs the ball and she earned a lot of points earlier in the year and she's not even having great form. Who am I going to pair her with that's going to elevate them as a team? And you start looking at what's the complementary skill set that that person doesn't have that this person can help with. So again, it's a
But obviously,
very
she's out on an island for the last day. You can't really hide somebody who can't putt when they have to go in singles matches on Sunday. So
totally. And that's why there's always a debate about how much current form matters because someone could finish second last week at the Lotte and miss the cut next week. So it's a very fickle thing to begin with of whether they're playing good golf overall. At the end of the day, you need to know who your dogs are, who's going to get up for that. So to your point, who on Saturday, regardless of form, is just going to take it as a personal challenge to go mess up the other person. That's ultimately what they're looking for is, hey, if I got to go into battle, even if it's someone who doesn't have their best stuff that week, who's going to grind? And that's where you're going to have, that's why you always have to lean on your top players to make sure they do what they came there to do, which is why the US just lost the Ryder Cup because Scotty did not play well. And you need points out of him. If you're not going to get points out of the Nellies and Scotties of the world, you're going to be hard pressed to win your team matchup. There are some interesting names on here just on the outside looking in of the current Solheim Cup points list beyond the names you listed. Lindy Duncan, someone who's kind of been under the radar but playing really well in 2025. Really curious to see if she keeps her name on the list as they move into 2026. Again, folks, we're almost a year out from this. Tom listed 9 names. Half of them could turn out of this list. So there's nothing said. Allison Corpus, Sarah Schmelzel, both of them were on the most recent team. Lucy Lee, kind of a young name, interesting. Lexi Thompson on the outside looking in. You mentioned Rose Zhang is out there. There's also, you look at someone like Lilia Vu, who's not anywhere near the top of the Solheim Cup list, but her Rolex rankings are still up there. That's someone I would expect to, if she doesn't change form, she'll fall out of that Rolex ranking and will not be someone they're looking at. So I'm looking for Lilia to start playing well to get her name back into contention. So that's your US team. Europe does not do it the same way. So again, all of those players on the LPGA side, again on the US side, they can kind of squarely go off of US rankings, LPGA, and Rolex, but Europe has a little bit of a different system. So first off, their captain is Anna Nordquist. Anna is a Solheim Cup stalwart. She's still playing, by the way, but she was a vice cap. She was a playing vice captain a year ago. That's how recently Anna has been playing. She's a stud. She's a 3-time major winner. She's played in 9 Solheim Cups. The way they will structure their team is the top 2 players on the ladies European Tour points list. So again, think the DP World Tour for the men, something similar. The ladies European Tour, again, this is Europe versus US. So they want to make sure they're honoring the top players on that tour who have either solo or shared status with the LPGA. Top 2 players from the LAT. Then the next 6 highest Rolex ranked players, not already on that top 2 from the LAT. So put it this way, Charlie Hull, if she was number 1 or number 2, would take that spot, and then someone else would bump up from on the Rolex rankings because she's already been taken, or vice versa. And you'll notice that math leaves you with 8 players, meaning Europe gets 4 captains picks. So whereas Angela on the US side is going to be picking 3, Anna gets 4. Don't love that. I do wish that they had a little bit more consistency on captains picks, but the Ladies European Tour just throws a wrench in all of this. And the Ladies European Tour, the depth of talent is not nearly as deep as the LPGA. So that's why they only choose the top 2 to ensure high quality competition so that European side gets to pull from the Rolex rankings, which is where their best players are going to be unveiled.
you have to imagine that if there were only 3 captains picks and they did the next 7 highest rated Rolex players, it probably would be a similar
I would
outcome.
think so. Yeah, I don't think there's too much variability there, but I do think that what it protects them against is, let's say someone on the European tour just goes bananas but doesn't play on the LPGA. So they're getting a lot of points and maybe they're not cutting their teeth on the same type of tour that the LPGA players are. So they're worried about having too high of a stacked LET only side. So they want to get as many Rolex ranked players. So I do think it's possible. I'd be curious to see. So to that point, I'm going to give you the names of the LET auto qualifiers. And Tom, I'm going to guess you don't recognize either one. Chiara Tamberlini and Helen Bream are the 2 names that are at the top 2 of the LET points list. Helen Bream is a name you're going to get to know here. She's on the younger side, and Chiara had a really good showing at some of the majors earlier this year, but they are not household names when it comes to the LPGA and professional women's golf, but they're tearing up the LET and they are currently leading the Solheim Cup points list in that regard. Once you get outside of that and you go to the Rolex rankings for the next six, you're going to start recognizing some names here. Charlie Hull, Lottie Wode, Maya Stark, Celine Boutier, Esther Henselite, and Carlota Saganda. Of those, Carlota, Celine, Maya, and Charlie were all on recent Solheim Cup teams. Lottie and Esther, I think, would both be rookies this year. So again, a little bit different structure, but at the end of the day, 12 on 12, the best players from Europe and US going against each other. We mentioned this is the 20th annual event. We're going to the Netherlands. Man, I want to go to this event. I even looked
Mark,
at tickets the other night.
did you?
I did. I did.
You're talking about flights or you're talking about
I'm talking about full travel packages, everything taken care of.
how much? Because I looked at flights.
More than I'm willing to spend right now because tickets themselves for the tournament are not expensive.
What if we get a sponsor exemption?
Hey, to those of you sponsors out there listening, if you're friends with
Toto,
anybody,
Toto.
fringecoverage@gmail.com. Yeah, Toto. If you remember that exchange from a couple of weeks ago, we're looking to get ourselves to the Netherlands. We're going to be in Valhalla in 2028, so tell them we better be there. I
Yeah.
do want to go to a Ryder Cup or Solheim Cup on foreign soil. I think that sounds way more fun actually than US, especially coming off of the debacle at Bethpage in terms of the fan interactions. I just find the European fans very fun. So, okay, a couple of just fun facts and records for you. Most Solheim Cup appearances, Laura Davies, 12 Solheim Cups. Dude, this is every other year. That's a 25-year career. Not surprisingly, she also has the most points. Again, I mentioned for every match you play, it's worth 1 point. She has 25 career points. Her lifetime record is 22 wins, 18 losses, and 6 ties. The max you can get any Solheim Cup you can get is 5. So 4-ball and foursomes. There's 2 sessions a day on Friday, Saturday. That's 4 points, and then your singles match is worth another one for 5.
Got it.
So
And
yes,
there's no max that any player can play, correct?
correct. It's up to the captain. So they always have to unveil their pairings the night before. So usually you kind of have an idea of what you'd like to have happen. Then life happens. You see who's playing good golf or not. And let's say we wanted to play Nelly all 5, but she plays horrible day 2 or day 1 in the afternoon and says, "Hey, I'm gassed. I need a break." Or maybe the course is long and it's beating them up. So there's a lot of different factors that go into that decision. But the most you can play is 5. The least you can play is 1. Everyone has to play a singles match unless there's an injury. Usually, your weaker players will play 2 or 3 matches tops. You'll play one singles match and at least one of the team matches. Just kind of depends on how everything is shaking out once the pegs go on the ground and they're actually playing golf. There's only one player who's ever won 5 points in one cup, who's ever gone 5-0. That is a European vice captain, Carolyn Headwall, in 2013. She is known to U.S. fans kind of shiver when they hear that name because she is the reason they retained the cup. Back a couple years ago, the U.S. looked like they were going to win it, and then Caroline flipped a match. She was like 3 down with 4 to go or something ridiculous, and Caroline came rushing back and got him a much-needed half or full point. I can't remember now. So, anyways, only 5-0
For comparison,
ever.
5 men have gone 5-0 in Ryder Cup history.
Okay, that sounds. I'm curious. Is any modern days like Tommy's or Francesco
Justin
Molinari or anything like
Johnson,
that?
2021. Francesco Molinari,
Yeah,
2018, and then yeah, in the 60s, 70s,
Tommy must
Arnold
have
Palmer
lost a
and
singles
whatnot.
match because Molinari and Fleetwood went gnarly. That just went off that whole Ryder Cup. We've mentioned this in a previous episode. Charlie Hull is the youngest ever to play in the Solheim Cup at 17 years old, and the oldest, Julie Inkster, at 51. Julie Inkster's a G, man. She's got stories for days. But a little zoom in on that Charlie Hull note, and I'm going to put this in the show notes. I posted this on social media. This quote from Charlie Hull is one of my favorite things I've heard in a long time. So recently, Inside the LPGA, podcast run by the LPGA, had Charlie on. They asked Charlie about her first Solheim Cup when she was 17, and they said, "Hey, tell us a little bit about it." And Charlie, just being Charlie, says, "Honestly, I didn't want to go. I asked my dad if I had to because it was my friend's birthday party that weekend. And it was her friend Pablo." Like she goes into detail about this. She's like, "I want to go," and her dad, or don't want to go, and dad made her go. And then during this trip, Charlie, for the first time, was introduced to the peanut butter and jelly sandwich, which she
Mm.
said, and I quote, "was the best thing ever." This interview is just the most off the rails, perfect encapsulation of Charlie Hull I've heard in a long time. She didn't want to go play in the Solheim Cup, and then she talked about they get team gifts for being on the team, and they gave her an iPad. I'll link it in the notes. It's just a fantastic view into how crazy Charlie Hull is and why she's my favorite. Um,
Why you named your
but
eldest daughter after her?
it's exactly right. She is the real deal. So Tom, I teased this
So
earlier.
sorry. So real quick tangent. When I was a kid, I just graduated high school. You and I just graduated high school, and my parents said we're going to Europe, and I said, "Ooh, when are we going? Because that sounds like fun." And they said, you know, end of June, early July, and I said, the Vans Warp Tour is going to actually be in San Diego that week. Could we move the trip? And they said, no, we have real jobs and we will not move the trip. I said, okay, okay. How about I fly out to Europe with you and then I come back by myself to go see the Vans Warp Tour and then I meet you out in Europe. And they looked at me like I
What?
had two heads. Like, I mean, again, I was 17. I was Charlie Hull's age and I don't know anything about life or how anything works. And I just said, Mom, it's the Warp Tour. Like, NoFX is headlining. And she just said, Tom, shut up. You're coming with us. And then I just, pouted the entire day that I missed the Warp Tour. But, ungrateful
Man,
children.
I'm proud of you for saying that story on air. I'd be embarrassed as heck if I was you right now.
Yeah, I'm self-effacing. I don't mind admitting when I do dumb stuff like that.
Okay, Tom. I mentioned there is a weird rule in the Ryder Cup about a tie. So again, there's 28 points available. If it ends 14-14, the current rule is the team that won the previous year's Solheim Cup or the previous iteration 2 years earlier retains the cup, and it's basically a win for them. No one really likes that result, but that's what happens. It's come into question every year that it's been on the table. Personally, I hate it. I don't have the world's best suggestion, but there's been all sorts of things of, hey, we want it to go. If it's 14-14, I want to go to a putt off, or I want the best player from each team to go play another 18 holes. I've heard a bazillion reasons, all things that are entertaining in some right. I want you to play Solheim Cup commissioner for the day. You get to change the retain rule. What do you do if there's a 14-14 tie?
So I agree with you. I think the tie sucks.
Yeah,
Because what you don't want is you don't want the defending champion to play for a tie. You want them to go out and play for the win.
exactly. Yep. Well said.
I can only think of two options
Okay.
here. My number one option would be to have the team captains play a sudden death hole. I think that would be
Okay.
very entertaining because I
Okay.
mean they're coming in cold. Or do they warm up just in case? Is this
Pretty
like an
funny.
alternate juror situation where they're doing everything the players are doing, and if they get called in, they have to, answer the call?
God, that would have been Keegan's dream.
Yeah, absolutely. My other option would be that each team captain gets to pick an opposing player to
Yes.
go into a sudden death playoff.
So are we
There's
saying
always that
sudden
thing that
death,
happens
just one hole? Like play it until someone wins a hole?
one hole. Yeah.
Okay.
There's always that thing that happens, everyone goes, "Oh, the NFL playoffs would be so much more interesting if the number one seed got to pick who they went up against." Or, they do this with the NBA and NHL. It's always like somebody always brings it up, some talking head on some
Yeah.
sports show. I think that might be kind of fun. I mean, I think that, it's that thing where you really get the other person, offended, right? You go, you're picking me. You think that you can beat me. You think I'm the worst player on the team.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then that's somebody's time to shine, right? Somebody's going to come out being the absolute hero of the Solheim Cup.
Yeah. I like that as a fan. I love that. Right. I want anything that's interesting. I can see where captains would get all sort of hung up on this of let's say I choose who I think is your 12th best, but like that person is super sick that week or is dealing with like all of a sudden it's not going to be the best product. Like allegedly Ricky had COVID a couple years ago in the Ryder Cup and like didn't play at all. Like I wonder if there's a way to like maybe limit the list of like let's say at the end of the day on Saturday or sorry, Sunday, each captain has to put three names that they are pick the number of their own team of you can pick any one of these three or six or whatever. Maybe six, maybe you do a larger or you take a couple names out, which maybe feels a little bit more exclusionary, but and then say, hey, captain, you get to pick from this subset just to appease you're not going after the injured player or the sick player
Sure.
or whatever. I do like it. I think that's super fun to pick. Like, I want him or I want her. I like that.
I like the team captain one the most.
Yeah. I think I don't know that it would make for great TV watching because if they're playing some bad golf, I don't know if I want to see Shank City win or lose the Ryder Cup or the Solheim Cup.
Oh,
Like
I think
that's
that no matter what, if you're going into a tie, it's going to be captivating TV.
Yeah, but I want
regardless.
the best golfers doing it, not someone who hasn't played. I mean, it could be someone who's potentially 65 years old, you know?
But any team captain's still going to at least, at worst, bogey a hole.
All right, one last question for you, Tom. You and I are playing alt shot. We're in a team match event. You're the captain of our two-person team. How would you approach deciding whether you would, in ideal would rather have one of us hitting tee balls or approach shots? Where are you? How are you assessing strength? And we'll say this. Let's say we're playing a course where the odds are the long holes, and they're going to emphasize driver, and more than half of the par threes are on the even holes.
This is a great way to ruin our friendship. I would say between you and me, I think that I drive the ball more accurately than you do.
And further.
I will concede that you are the better putter.
Okay.
So I'm trying to work my way out.
Maybe more
Short.
importantly, I'm the better chipper.
See, okay, so I would say that you are the better chipper, but you also probably scull more chip shots than I do.
But match play, remember, triple bogey is the same as bogey if you're playing against another team. So blow up holes, you're either in it or you're not. Like we got to score.
True.
So again, it's not like we're birdieing every hole in alt shot. If anything, we'd be happy to double bogey some things playing each other's.
Do I
But
have my new fairway wood in this
do
in
you
this
want to?
scenario? The one that you just picked out?
Sure.
Yeah. I would say that I would handle the longer holes. I would tee off in the longer holes.
Okay.
I
So
am
in,
very uncomfortable with my short game. So
okay.
I agree. I would let you I would want you to do more chipping than me.
So in theory, you just put me on the par threes, and if you don't like my approach play, you're the one chipping on all the par threes if I'm not hitting greens. Again, you get this. There's a point where you're going to get stuck chipping and putting at some point. Again, on par threes, fours, and fives, there's too much variability there. But you can see again, just a little taste of one of the many things Anna Norquist and Angela Stanford are going to have to go through. Is some of them play a different golf ball. Like literally, the golf ball is different, and it jumps off the club face different. Spin rates are different. You and I are not nearly versed enough in golf to even know about how our golf game is being
Yeah.
impacted by our equipment. But if anything, we just need to maximize like our headspace, like mentally, like, yeah, we put our big driver in big hitting positions and we're hiding Marc as much as we can.
Well, I mean, I would say that the worst part of both of our games would be like a super long par three.
Yeah,
That's
I
where
think
we would
long
have
irons
blow up
for
holes.
sure is our weakness.
Right. So, if we're at a 190 par three,
Yep.
I
Yep.
don't know what the hell I'm going to do. I'll tell you what I'm going to do. I'm probably going to double bogey it, but I don't know what I would use to tee off.
Yeah,
I mean, stuff like that, I'd have no idea. So I would just be conceding all those holes.
for sure. Well, one of these days, you and I are going on a trip. I don't know if we're going to be able to put off on this next one with the guys, but we do need to go play a round of alt shot and just go and say we're not shooting a score. Obviously, we're only going to hit the ball a few times, but just see what would happen when we had to if we have to try and ham and egg this thing.
We should
All
just
right,
show up to a golf course on Sunday, and you and I are playing alt shot with two
just tell them
random
we're a
fans.
single.
Yeah, we're paying for a single, please.
Okay, we're slowly trying to end this episode here. So, a couple bummer news and notes, man. It came out at the end of the tournament this week. I've been hyping up the International Crown as the next upcoming team event in a few weeks here on the Asia Swing. Nelly has withdrawn as one of the four Americans. She is going to be replaced by Yalimi No. Super excited for Yalimi. She's very deserving. She was kind of the next best ranked Rolex player on the U.S. side. But Nelly cited an injury. She actually cited a few injuries in her post round presser this week that she's been battling. She doesn't play on the Asia swing, so this was going to be the only thing that took her out there. She's getting some negative feedback, as every social media person will know, that people are saying she just didn't want to go to Asia for this and she's not playing the rest of the swing. I think Nelly's beat up a little bit. I know she's had multiple injuries, so just a bummer for fans not to get to see again current whether she's number two ranked. She's the most famous golfer in the world. It's always tough for an event not to have her, especially in a unique format where you're going to get to see her in a different capacity.
And this is over 2 weeks away. So she is, whatever it is, it's serious enough for her to announce it this far in advance. Now, or maybe she's saying, I need to give Yelimino as much
Right.
time to prepare as possible. So It might be one of those things where she goes, well, I might be able to do it coming up to it, but it wouldn't be fair to her or to the team to make
Yeah.
everybody wait on it. So
Yeah.
it is a
Yeah.
bummer. You texted me that last night, and I was kind of kind of
That
bummed
stuff
about it.
bums me
But
out.
you
And
know
just
what? If this leads to her being healthy enough to play a more complete
yeah.
season next year, then maybe it's for the best.
Nelly has such an up and down career arc in terms of just her public persona. It's always tough when something like this happens because by no fault of her own, it kind of becomes a negative storyline. And then in other withdrawing news of the international crown on the Thailand team, Patty Tavatanakit is out as well, and she's going to be replaced by Pajari Ananarukarn for Thailand. So just a couple in and out things. I don't think it's gonna it will not impact the way the format of anything. It's just a couple names that won't be playing for their flag. We're going to the Asia swing now. Tournament preview this week, the Buick LPGA Shanghai. We're going to China. This is the first of a 5-week Asian swing. It's the second Asian swing of the year. There's one in the spring as well. This is October 9th through 12th. It's a long course. It's 6,700 yards. That's on the longer side for the LPGA. Defending champ, Shanghai's own, Ronning Yin. That was a big win for her last year. She broke the 72-hole scoring record. She shot 25 under last time that they were there. So be very curious to see what she does in her defense of her championship. How to watch. Golf Channel has all 4 days. We're back to a Thursday, Sunday. Tough watch, guys. Tough watch. This is in China, so if you don't know your time zones, Pacific time, because that's where Tom and I are, 8 p.m. to 1 a.m. is the window. And again, those of you on the East Coast, maybe you wake up early or don't go to bed. That's an 11 p.m. to 4 a.m. window. So good news is it's 5 hours of coverage. It's sucky that the only time the LPGA can get
I
5 hours of coverage is when they're in the middle of the night in the United States. So if you guys have the ability to record, this might be a good week to do it. Otherwise, I might be sleeping on the couch that week, and not because I'm in the doghouse, just because I want to watch golf. So, and then with that, the last thing with this is, Tom, we got to do some picks this week, and you still have the honors. Where are you going this week?
I'm going for a repeat. Ronan Ying.
And by repeat, you mean defending champion, but
She's a
not.
defending champion. Shot 25 under last time combined. Let's see. We don't have a repeat yet on tour, I don't believe. So
I mean, it's a home game for her, right? I mean,
yeah.
she it should be comfortable. She's probably been there for a while. I just saw she and Gino were out to dinner. They're best friends already there, so she's feeling comfortable at home. I'm going to go with someone you mentioned in your Solheim Cup preview. I'm going to go with Austin Kim. I mentioned this is a long golf course. It's 6,700 yards. Austin bombs the ball. It's been somewhat inconsistent here recently, but I think maybe a change of scenery may be good for her. So I like her on a long course. Let's see what Austin Kim does this
The
week.
streak continues.
Yeah, man. At
Are
this
you
point, you got
kidding
to
me?
be rooting for the streak to go all the way through, which would be wild if someone wins the CME and it's a first timer this year. But remember, once you get to the top 60, that means 30 winners are going to be half the field. That's all I got. Anything to close us out, Tom?
If you have any suggestions for players or topics to discuss on this podcast, send us an email to fringecoverage@gmail.com. You can follow us on Instagram at Fringe Coverage Pod. Follow us on X at Fringe Coverage X. I got a text from Mark this week. Confused text because he didn't understand my Taylor Swift reference. Mark, I take it you're not a Swiftie?
I am not a Swiftie, but I do need to air this out a little bit, Tom. I haven't told you this yet. I saved it for the pod. So if you didn't see, the same day as Taylor Swift's album release, Fringe Coverage posted something, and Tom was the brains behind it, and said something to the effect of the life of a pro girl or something like that. Obviously, riffing off of the album name of Life of a Showgirl with Taylor Swift. And I saw this post. Admittedly, I have my head in the sand when it comes to pop culture. Tom is my pop culture person. I texted him and said, what the heck does this mean? And then he sent something back kind of cryptically, and I said, I truly have no idea what we're talking about right now.
I
And I
told you
was
to get your head out of the
angry.
sand.
I was angry because you were posting dumb stuff that I didn't understand. I'm like, if I don't understand whatever golf reference you're trying to make, I guarantee you the rest of our followers, which we don't have many, there's no way anyone has any idea what you're talking about. And then it came out that you were making a Taylor Swift reference, and then it all kind of came flooding in. The reason I'm sharing all of this as a preface, the night before, As I am getting in bed, my wife says to me, "Hey, I know you know nothing about this stuff, but just in case your social media world gets taken over tomorrow, Taylor Swift is releasing her new album." And she said that verbatim to me 12 hours before I texted you saying, "What the heck is this?" So then you and I have the text thread we just talked about. I tell my wife this story. You and her start messaging both on Instagram and through a private text thread about all of this and started just dropping references to other song titles, which I did not know were song titles. And I continued to be lost, but knew something was being said and I was being made of fun of. And then finally caught on that you guys, my wife finally said something that set me over the top. She said something like, "Actually, Mark, I think it's somewhat romantic that you don't know this." And I was like, my wife has never said I'm romantic in any stretch. Something is up. So I looked up this album, and sure enough, I saw that the word romantic was in one of the song titles. And then I looked back and saw that you had done some song titles. And so I finally decided to shut you both down and say you're both canceled because I had done my research and saw that
You
T
did your
Swift.
research, Mark. I dropped three Taylor Swift track titles in this episode.
Did you really?
My goal was I thought I could get five in. I thought I would be able to get five. I was only able to get in three.
I love that we now have an unintentional like Easter egg segment at the end of every podcast where we talk about how I've messed up on social media, either talking to Toto or I mean, we haven't even talked about when I've thought that Brooke Henderson was following us and it was a bot account. I mean, for those of you out there trying to get me, I can get got. There's no doubt about it. But what did you? Oh, you know what? Don't tell me what you dropped this week. I'll see if I can identify it when I go back and
Yeah, I wish that
edit
we
this.
said something at the beginning, like we could preface this so that fans could actually fans, listeners of our podcast could actually comment and say, "I heard it, and it's this, this, and this." But that's probably not
Well,
going to happen now. No one's going to re-listen to this to
well, and
find them.
again, if you have a wish list of topics, let us know.
Look at you, Mark. So you
For
have
each,
listened.
for
Did you
each
listen
coverage. No. Did I listen to the
to
album?
the album?
No, absolutely not. No. When you two were texting me last week, I just looked at the names and committed them to memory.
All right. Wish list is an interesting one. I think you might actually like that song. If you'd like, I can make you a playlist. It doesn't have to be from this current album. It could just be like her best of.
All right,
My daughter
guys.
and I already have it. I could just send it to you.
Tom, play us out, would you?
Whether you're approaching from the fairway or the rough, we got you covered inside the fringe.